In 2016, Shakur Stevenson slept in a cramped Newark apartment where safety was a luxury he couldn't afford. But today, he rests in a Houston fortress spanning acres of manicured land guarded by systems costing more than his parents' lifetime earnings combined. We are walking through the gates of this private sanctuary to reveal exactly where the fight money goes, showing you custom features, insane monthly upkeep, and the specific security detail in the master suite that no other boxer thought to install. Waking up every single day meant checking the locks 3 times because his zip code was statistically one of the most dangerous in America. For a young Shakur Stevenson, the concept of home wasn't about marble floors or high ceilings, but strictly about survival and keeping his head down until he made it to the gym. Bouncing between family members' houses created an instability that crushes most dreams before they even start, and it fueled a hunger that luxury simply cannot replicate. The environment forced him to treat boxing not just as a sport, but as the only viable evacuation plan available. Hunger builds different beasts. When you understand the concrete jungle he escaped, the sprawling green lawns of his new estate stop looking like a purchase and start looking like a conquest. You have to ask why 70% of professional athletes go broke within years of retiring, and the answer usually starts with the very first 6-figure check they cash. Shakur admits that early on, the temptation wasn't real estate but depreciation, meaning the initial influx of cash went straight to jewelry, designer clothes, and cars that lost 20% of their value the second they rolled off the lot. It is a common financial trap where people try to look rich before actually being wealthy by prioritizing the appearance of success over the foundation of it. Flash fades while equity stays. He quickly realized that diamonds don't pay dividends, so he pivoted from buying liabilities to hunting for assets that would protect his future family, which led him directly to the housing market. You might wonder why a Jersey-born fighter would plant his flag deep in the heart of Texas, but the answer is simple math. New Jersey has some of the highest property and state income taxes in the country, while Texas has 0 state income tax. For a fighter earning multi-million-dollar purses, staying on the East Coast is essentially voluntarily giving away millions of dollars to the government every single year. By moving his residency to Houston, Shakur automatically gave himself a massive raise without throwing a single extra punch. It's not about what you make, but about what you keep. This move signifies a shift from a fighter's mentality to a CEO's mentality because he recognizes that his location is just as important to his bottom line as his defense in the ring. This estate isn't sitting right off a busy highway where fans can drive by and honk, but instead it is tucked away in a quiet, affluent enclave designed for absolute anonymity. The neighborhood scouting report focused on distance from the city's chaotic nightlife and proximity to elite private facilities. He chose a spot where the neighbors are oil tycoons and tech executives who have their own money and aren't impressed by fame, creating a bubble of normalcy where he can walk his driveway without being harassed for autographs or challenged to street fights. Silence is the ultimate luxury. In a sport as loud and chaotic as boxing, having a home base that feels like a library is essential for mental recovery because the location forces a disconnect from the hype and allows him to decompress fully between camps. Real estate experts always say you make your money when you buy rather than when you sell. Reports indicate that Shakur entered the Houston market at a sweet spot by purchasing before the post-pandemic housing boom sent prices into the stratosphere. By securing this estate when he did, he locked in an asset that has likely appreciated by 15 to 20% in just a few years. He didn't over-leverage himself to get into a clout house that he couldn't afford during the off-season, but instead bought something that fit comfortably within his means. Buy low and live high. This financial discipline is rare in boxing because instead of drowning in a mortgage that requires a fight every 3 months to service, he sits on an asset that is effectively paying him just by existing in a hot market. Financial advisors for combat sports athletes have noted a massive migration trend where those fighting for legacy train in Vegas, while those fighting for wealth live in Texas. This sentiment drives home why fighters like Shakur and even Gervonta Davis are looking at the Lone Star State since it offers the space to build massive compounds that would cost triple in Los Angeles or New York. The square footage dollar-for-dollar value in Houston allows a fighter to build a literal sanctuary rather than just a nice apartment. Geography dictates your net worth. Shakur listened to the guys who went broke before him and did the exact opposite, making this house the physical manifestation of learning from boxing history's financial errors. Pulling up to the estate hits you with the overwhelming silence of the forest that surrounds it, rather than the size of the columns. Unlike the flashy glass box mansions in Los Angeles that scream for attention, Shakur's Texas sanctuary is hidden behind a veil of mature oak trees in Kingwood, which is often called the livable forest. The architecture creates a psychological barrier between Shakur the boxer and Shakur, the man with brick and stone facades that blend into the landscape rather than dominating it. Privacy is the new flex. The driveway winds deep into the property to ensure that by the time you actually see the front door, you have already passed through multiple layers of natural and man-made screening. Most celebrities install security systems to protect their jewelry, but Shakur installed his to protect his peace. We aren't just talking about a Ring doorbell and a gated entry because sources indicate the property is equipped with a perimeter surveillance system similar to what you'd find at a diplomatic compound featuring motion tracking cameras that can identify a license plate from 100 yards away. After growing up in Newark, where danger was random and omnipresent, he invested heavily in predictive systems that alert him to a threat before it even reaches the gate. Peace of mind has a price tag. This setup allows him to sleep without one eye open, and that is a luxury worth more to him than any car in the garage. Shakur once admitted in a GQ interview that his first big purchase to prove he made it was a $150,000 Mercedes Maybach that screams executive power. That vehicle now sits as the crown jewel of a driveway looking more like a luxury dealership lot. Flanking the Maybach is typically a rugged G-Wagon, which is the standard issue tank for the modern athlete, chosen specifically for its ability to handle Houston's rougher roads and flash floods. But this isn't just hoarding metal, since each car serves a specific mood, with the Maybach for business meetings and the G-Wagon for training camp commutes. Trophies on wheels. For a kid who grew up taking the bus, walking out to a fleet of six-figure engines is a daily affirmation that the struggle is officially over. You have to calculate what it costs just to let a luxury car collection sit parked. Between the specialized insurance for high-value vehicles, climate-controlled garage storage to prevent humidity damage, and the premium fuel required for V8 and V12 engines, Shakur is likely burning through $5,000 to $8,000 a month before he even puts the car in drive. These machines are high-maintenance divas because a single oil change on a Maybach can cost more than a Honda Civic's monthly payment. The hidden tax of luxury reminds us that in the world of the wealthy, the purchase price is just the entry fee, while the upkeep is the subscription model that never cancels. Step into the backyard and you are immediately transported from Texas to a private resort in Turks and Caicos. The center of gravity is a custom pool with a zero-edge design, making the water look like a sheet of glass stretching into the lawn. But the real feature is the outdoor kitchen equipped with industrial-grade grills capable of handling the post-fight feasts for his entire team. This space isn't for swimming laps, but for decompression sessions where the noise of the boxing world is drowned out by waterfalls and the sizzle of steak. Recovery happens outside. He built this space knowing that he can't just go to a public park or a community pool without being mobbed, so this became his private public square. There is a rumor in his camp about a zealous fan who once tried to map out Shakur's location by analyzing the reflection in his sunglasses from an Instagram story. They drove for hours around Houston trying to match the tree line to the photo, but they failed. It is a chilling reminder of why he chose a property set so far back from the main road, and that incident reportedly led to an immediate upgrade in his digital security protocols because in 2025, a physical fence isn't enough when you need a digital one too. Fame attracts the obsessed. It underscores the dark side of stardom where the more you shine, the more shadows you cast, and the higher your walls need to be. Open the double doors and vertical space greets you immediately. The foyer features a double-height ceiling with a chandelier that likely costs more than a sparring partner's entire purse, but look closer at the walls. Instead of generic abstract art, you will find large-scale portraits of boxing legends like Ali, Floyd, and Ward to create a hall of ancestors that sets the tone immediately. This isn't just a house, but a temple dedicated to the sweet science. Greatness watches you enter. Shakur didn't hire a designer to fill the space with beige trends, but instead curating it to remind himself of the standard he is chasing every time he walks in the door. You might expect a 27-year-old millionaire's kitchen to be stocked with junk food and expensive champagne, but Shakur's kitchen looks more like a pharmacy. The refrigerator is organized with military precision, featuring meal-prepped containers labeled by macronutrients alongside stacks of alkaline water and zero-processed sugar. The chef-grade Wolf appliances are rarely used for frying chicken because they are tools for fueling a high-performance engine. This room is the command center for his weight cuts, which are arguably the hardest fight he faces before stepping into the ring. Discipline lives in the fridge. While his friends might be partying in the living room, this kitchen is a no-fly zone for cheat meals, proving that the discipline doesn't turn off when the gym lights go out. The living room is dominated by a television screen so large it looks like an IMAX theater. But it isn't tuned to Netflix. On any given Tuesday, it is looping high-definition fight tape of his next opponent. The seating arrangement features custom-designed deep-tissue sectional sofas, allowing his entire team to sit comfortably for hours, breaking down footwork and feints in what they call the war room. Plush rugs and ambient lighting soften the mood, but make no mistake that this is where the strategic dismantling of his rivals begins. Study creates the knockout. It creates an environment where relaxation and work blend seamlessly so he can absorb data on his opponents while physically resting his body. Walk down the main hallway, and the lighting changes from warm residential ambience to sharp museum-quality spotlights. This is the trophy room, which is the only place in the house where the past is allowed to sit still. Glass cases hold the WBC, WBO, and Ring magazine belts, but the centerpiece is often the Olympic silver medal from Rio, acting as a reminder of the almost that drives his perfectionism today. The belts aren't just thrown on a shelf but are mounted on velvet and treated like artifacts. Gold requires a shrine. Standing in this room makes the silence heavy and forces you to respect the blood equity required to fill these cases, transforming shiny metal into a tangible history of violence and victory. Most mega mansions have guest rooms that stay empty for 50 weeks a year, but Shakur's guest wing is an active ecosystem. He didn't leave Newark to be alone, so he brought the day one team with him, including the cousins and childhood friends who kept him out of trouble when the streets were calling. These rooms are designed with the same luxury as the master suite to ensure his inner circle feels like royalty rather than afterthoughts. It is a strategic move to keep his environment insulated with people who knew him before the check cleared. Loyalty gets a suite. By keeping his circle tight and under his roof, he eliminates the yes men and leeches who typically drain a young fighter's focus and finances. You need to know the difference between rich and wealthy spending. Rich is buying a Ferrari, but wealthy is spending $40,000 on a custom sectional sofa that took 6 months to ship from Italy. Ironically, the cost of just one throw pillow on that couch is likely more than the monthly dues at the dusty Newark boxing gym where Shakur first learned to throw a jab. It is a stark and almost poetic contrast between the grit that built the fighter and the comfort that now sustains the man. Soft cushions, hard hands. It reminds us that while his surroundings have softened, the hands that paid for them have to remain as dangerous as ever. We are officially halfway through the tour of Shakur's Houston compound. If you are digging this breakdown of how a champion lives, spends, and protects his peace, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, because we decode the lifestyles of the world's top fighters every single week, and you don't want to miss the next one. You might think a world champion needs a massive commercial gym, but Shakur's home setup is surprisingly stripped down to essentials like heavy bags, a speed bag platform, and open floor space. The philosophy here is zero friction because removing the 30-minute drive to the gym eliminates any excuse to skip a second session. He installed professional-grade flooring that mimics the canvas of a ring to protect his joints during late-night shadowboxing sessions. Champions train in private. This allows him to work on secret strategies away from the prying eyes of spies or phone cameras. So if you want to master a craft, build a space where you can fail in private so you can succeed in public. Recovery is the new training in 2025. Adjacent to the gym is a room that looks like a high-tech medical clinic featuring a cryotherapy chamber and an infrared sauna. Shakur understands that his body is a depreciating asset that needs aggressive maintenance to extend its shelf life. Instead of driving across Houston to a wellness center, he can jump into sub-zero temperatures at 3 in the morning after a grueling run. This setup is the difference between a 5-year career and a 15-year legacy. Health is the ultimate hustle. Investing in your body yields the highest return on investment of any purchase you will ever make. Tucked away from the noise of the entertainment wing is a room with mahogany doors and a heavy oak desk known as the office. This is where Shakur the fighter clocks out and Shakur the CEO clocks in. It's here that he reviews contracts, takes calls with promoters like Bob Arum or Eddie Hearn, and plots his path through free agency. The walls are lined not with boxing photos, but with business goals and real estate listings. Sign checks instead of just cashing them. Having a dedicated space for business changes your mindset and forces you to take the administrative side of your career as seriously as the athletic side, which is a lesson many broke fighters learned too late. Finally, we reach the sanctuary within the sanctuary known as the Master Suite. It features a California king bed that looks small in the massive room, but the real secret is the door. Rumors swirl that Shakur installed a biometric reinforced door for the bedroom to essentially turn his sleeping quarters into a panic room. In an era where home invasions target athletes, this feature provides the ultimate layer of defense because it isn't paranoia, but preparation. Sleep safe and dream big. When you are the target, the ability to close your eyes knowing you are physically untouchable is the only way to get true REM sleep. Shakur is known as one of the best-dressed boxers in the game, and his closet proves it. It is designed less like a wardrobe and more like a high-end boutique with LED-lit shelves showcasing hundreds of pairs of Jordans, designer boots, and Amiri jeans. The organization is color-coded as a subtle nod to his obsessive attention to detail. This room is where the image is curated, including the outfits for press conferences that will be photographed and analyzed by millions. Style is psychological warfare. Looking the part is half the battle in boxing promotion. So when you look expensive, the public believes you are valuable, and that belief drives ticket sales. We all see the diamond chains and the Patek Philippe watches on Instagram, but we never see where they live. They don't sit in a drawer. Hidden within the suite is a commercial-grade safe bolted into the foundation that is rated to withstand fire and high-tech drilling tools. Shakur treats his jewelry collection not as accessories, but as portable commodities representing liquid cash that needs bank-level protection. Flash requires a fortress. If you're going to wear a house on your wrist, you better have a vault to put it in when the party is over. A shifting trend among young athletes is moving away from Scarface-style mansions to Iron Man-style smart homes. Shakur's estate is fully integrated with a Control 4 or Savant system, allowing him to control lighting, temperature, and security from his phone anywhere in the world. This isn't just cool tech, but is about efficiency and energy management, because as utility costs rise, the smart home is becoming a financial necessity for large estates. Control is the new luxury. Being the master of your environment down to the degree of the thermostat is the final flex of the modern champion. You have to ask who actually runs a property this size, because it isn't just Shakur waking up and mowing the lawn. The estate operates like a small boutique hotel requiring a payroll that includes a full-time landscaping crew to battle the aggressive Texas vegetation, a housekeeping team that rotates daily, and a private chef who travels with him during camps. This human infrastructure is the invisible cost of mansion life, because you aren't just paying a mortgage but are paying salaries. Freedom costs payroll. He trades money for time, which allows him to focus 100% on boxing while a small army handles the logistics of his existence. Texas might have no income tax, but the property taxes and cooling costs are the silent killers. Cooling a massive estate during a humid Houston summer where temperatures regularly hit triple digits results in an electricity bill that could buy a used car every single month. Add in the cost of pool maintenance, security monitoring fees, and insurance premiums for a high-profile target, and the monthly burn rate to keep the lights on is likely between $20,000 and $30,000. Air conditioning isn't cheap. It acts as a sobering reminder that a big house is a living, breathing beast that demands to be fed cash constantly. Walk past the main house and you might see a smaller yet still impressive structure on the grounds or nearby where the real motivation lives. Shakur has been vocal about his primary goal of retiring his mother and moving his younger siblings out of Newark's crossfire. This estate serves as the Stevenson HQ to provide a safe harbor where his family can gather without looking over their shoulders. Mom eats first. The estate isn't just a bachelor pad, but a generational fortress designed to break the cycle of poverty that held his family captive for decades. Compare Shakur's move to Houston with his rival Devin Haney's lifestyle in Los Angeles. While Haney drops millions on an LA mansion where you pay a premium for the zip code and get half the square footage, Shakur's Texas strategy gets him double the land for half the price. It is a classic case of flash versus value because in LA you pay for the view, while in Houston you pay for the empire. Math wins fights. Shakur is playing the long game by securing assets that maximize his net worth rather than just maximizing his Instagram likes. You might ask if this house is a liability or an asset. In the current Houston market, which has seen a massive influx of wealth from California and New York, this property is a performing asset. Real estate data suggests that high-end homes in his specific enclave have appreciated steadily, meaning if he ever decides to sell, he will likely walk away with a profit that eclipses his early fight purses. He didn't just buy a home, but parked his cash in a growing economy. Live in your savings account. The smartest purchase is one that pays you back when you leave it. There is one room in the house that remains surprisingly empty and almost unfinished. But it's not because he ran out of money, it's because he ran out of need. Shakur reportedly keeps one room sparse as a meditation zone devoid of furniture or distractions. It serves as a physical representation of the mental void he needs to enter before a fight, offering a space where he can sit on the floor and visualize the win without the clutter of his success pressing in on him. Emptiness clears the mind. In a house full of stuff, the most valuable room is the one that has nothing in it. Rumors are swirling in the boxing world that Shakur isn't done building. The next phase of the Stevenson plan involves purchasing adjacent commercial land to build a private boxing complex open to the public with the goal of creating a Newark South in Houston. This facility would train the next generation of fighters and essentially franchise his own discipline. He is moving from buying homes to building infrastructure. Legacy is brick and mortar. He understands that to truly be immortal in this sport, you have to leave behind more than just highlight reels, meaning you have to leave institutions. Despite the millions, the gates, and the guards, Shakur still carries Newark in his posture. He has admitted in interviews that he still gets uncomfortable in high society dinners and prefers the company of his day one crew. The luxury of the estate hasn't softened his edge because, if anything, it has sharpened his paranoia, leading him to treat the house not as a place to relax, but as a castle he has to defend. You can't buy the hood out of you. That underlying tension is what keeps him sharp in the ring because he knows exactly how far the fall is since he remembers the bottom vividly. Critics call his fighting style boring and his defensive genius running, but you have to look at the house that style bought. While fan-friendly brawlers take punishment and end up with slurred speech and rented condos, Shakur's philosophy of hit and don't get hit has secured him a lifestyle of kings with his health intact. He reads the hate comments from his air-conditioned home theater completely unbothered. Boring pays billions. He is proving that the most exciting thing in boxing isn't a knockout, but walking away with your brain cells and your bank account fully functioning. Fast forward 20 years and the cars will be outdated while the clothes will be out of style, but this land will remain. Shakur is building what sociologists call generational velocity, which is the momentum that pushes his children and grandchildren miles ahead of where he started. This estate is the anchor that transforms the Stevenson name from a statistic on a police blotter to a dynasty on a deed. Names fade, but deeds last. He isn't fighting for the next belt anymore, but fighting to ensure no Stevenson ever has to sleep in a cramped apartment again. There is a profound difference between being a rich boxer and a wealthy businessman. A rich boxer rents a mansion for the vlog, but a wealthy businessman owns the land the mansion sits on. Shakur Stevenson has mastered the cheat code by using the sport to fund the life instead of using the life to fund the sport. Don't just win the fight, win the game. From the cracked pavement of Newark to the pristine lawns of Houston, Shakur Stevenson's real estate journey is a masterclass in leveling up. He didn't just buy a house, but bought freedom, security, and a future by swapping flash for equity and noise for peace. As he continues to dominate the lightweight division, one thing is clear. The King of Newark has built his castle, and he dares anyone to try and take it. And that's it from us today. Until next time, thank you for watching.